Okay, we'll begin. First, let's just take the the opening mantra. Vasudevasutam devam kamsachanuramardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum. Okay, so quick recap. What we've done so far, we spoke of what is traditional sannyas, what is Krishna's sannyas. It's not about leaving the world. So always remember, Krishna himself was a householder, Arjun is a householder, and they are talking about sannyas. And and Krishna has never left the world. Okay, he enjoys the world. He's very much in the world, and he is giving the greatest treatise on sannyas. So very important point to remember. This is being spoken of by a householder to a householder. The one who does not drop sankalp is not a yogi, because only when you drop sankalp, you come into a state of absolute surrender. You are in 100% acceptance with what is, whether it's good or bad. There are no more questions that remain in a devotee. A devotee is, see, there is a very beautiful definition of bhakt. Osho बोलते हैं विभक्त माने जो divided है. Divided meaning yes, no, acceptance, rejection. So we are all in the vibhakt state. To become a bhakt means no division. Whatever is a yes, yes, yes. There is no rejection only. Everything is an acceptance. Everything is an acceptance from the divine. Then we spoke about the idea of Maitri, and are we really in friendship with ourselves? We are in friendship with ourselves if we spread auspiciousness around us. So again, working consciously and trying to see how we can use every opportunity to spread that auspiciousness. अपना मित्र वो ही है जो अपने चारों तरफ मंगल फैलाता है. The art of we spoke of being yoga root, the one who is centered, the one who is not touched by that which surrounds him. So again, that example of the lotus in the filth, to and how to stay untouched. We need to break some yoga with sukha. We all want to break some yoga with dukh. It's very natural. Many of us come to spiritual processes for that because we want to be happier. And then we miss the point, because what happens is you stay in duality. Sukh, dukh cycle and samsara keeps running, keeps going on. Liberation never happens because we never learned to break some yoga with sukha. And that is really that is really an insight. That is something very important to remember, that when good things happen to us, when people praise us, when promotions happen to us, when life is showering its blessings, enjoy them, but don't get overexcited and don't start trembling. At least bring awareness to that yes, trembling is happening to me. It's not, most of us will still feel excited, most of us may begin to tremble, but now don't let that happen without the observer in the back who is observing this phenomena happening to the body, happening to the mind. That is a step and a in the process of breaking sama yoga with sukha. Otherwise that excitement will take us to an extreme. We spoke about what is Gyan, what is Vigyan. We are very clear that Gyan we will follow Osho's guidance on this, and Gyan for us is enlightenment, is that ultimate, you know, Gyan of Brahman. That is the Gyan. It's not knowledge and information based stuff is Vigyan. It's not Gyan. Samatva Bhav. So one who, then he speaks of how that throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is trying to point Arjun towards equanimity. Samatva buddhi se kaam kar. Jis bhi cheez ko kare, try to bring samatvam to that. And we spoke of equanimity last time, and we discussed how each person's portal, so to say, to come into that equanimity depends upon that own person's unique tendencies and conflicts. It's like we spoke about how power may be very important to somebody, but to somebody else, friendship may be more important. So it depends upon your own unique tendencies. which tends to be very relevant for you. Keep, okay, little bit of power I don't get this position, I don't care, but friendship is more important to me. So that then I need to find my samatvam between friend and enemy. And the person for whom power is more important, he needs to find it between fame and dishonor. How do you see both as equal? This is the ultimate state Krishna is speaking of, to come into equanimity. He is telling Arjun, become a Buddha and engage in war. We spoke of that last time. And then he says, one of the things that you need to do to find or to work towards that equanimity is to really find that place of solitude within yourself. We discussed what is solitude. It's not loneliness. It is just going into the cave of your heart. It could even be a corner in your room which is untouched, which you keep only for your meditation practices. But really, as per Osho's commentary, it is the cave of your own heart, which is also mentioned in Chandogya Upanishad. So going further on this, so going into the cave of your heart. Now, Krishna will give us methods, processes. What can you do to come into this equanimity? What can you do to enter into the cave of your heart? Because it is only when you enter the cave of your heart that you can stay untouched. Sadhguru had mentioned this time in the satsang that, there should be one place inside you which nobody can touch. There should be something, this place you should keep only for yourself. Nobody else should be allowed to touch that place within you. And that is exactly what is being said in this sutra, that cave in your heart. So, how do we enter that cave of the heart? Beautiful. To practice yoga, one should make an asana in a sanctified place by placing kusha grass, deer skin, and a cloth, one over the other. The asana should be neither too high nor too low. So, the first thing he's telling you want to find equanimity, you want to become yoga rude, you want to find the cave of your heart, get into an asana. And what is the asana? So I'm going back, reflecting a little bit on Yoga Sutras. Asana is defined as Sthiram Sukham Asanam, meaning it's a Sthiram, steady posture, and Sukham, it is comfortable. Sadhguru says if you can sit in an asana for 2 hours straight away without any discomfort, you have a certain amount of asana siddhi. So, asana is the first thing that you need. Now, Osho's commentary very nicely. He says, so if Kabir reads this, he will laugh. He will say, Are आत्मा का कोई आसन होता है? Do I need an asana to find God? It doesn't make any sense. He will laugh. But the important thing here, Osho says, is please understand. Kabir is speaking from a point, the highest point. Or say someone like Jiddu Krishnamurti, who keeps saying there are no methods. There are no methods. Just wake up, simply see. But people like Jiddu Krishnamurti who say just wake up, just see, it's not that they didn't follow methods. They followed methods. See, uh, Jiddu Krishnamurti was put through several practices by the Theosophists. They say, Osho has mentioned that they even used Jiddu Krishnamurti as a medium to write a book through him. And after he wrote that book, he had no memory of it. So, uh, and Osho has in another place spoken about Jiddu Krishnamurti's psychology. He says he was not someone who looked for a guru, who wanted a guru. It was almost like guru and teachers were imposed on him. So he has a psychology. It's not something that is, even though he reached where he reached because he was put through all these methods, maybe by force, training, whatever, but it was not his choice. So he does not really endorse the whole method and process things. He simply says, wake up and see. Osho says, absolutely right. From what he says, what he's saying is absolutely right, but you are the wrong person. Because such a thing, if it is said to you, you will always stay where you are thinking, very nice. I don't have to do anything. I can continue with my laziness. I don't have to sit in an asana. It will just happen. I will wake up one day. No, it will not happen like that. So ओशो बोलते हैं वो जो बोल रहे हैं वो सही हैं पर आप गलत आदमी हैं. So it is not for It's not for the person who is standing at, say, the first step of a temple. Kabir is inside the temple, right? He's seeing God, and he will simply say, "Andar aa jao." Just come inside. Absolutely correct. और क्या चाहिए भगवान को देखने के लिए? Oh, come inside. That's all. Absolutely correct. But from where we are, we cannot just go inside. We are at the first step, 100 stairs that take you inside the temple. So you are at the first base step. And Osho says, Krishna, out of his compassion, is, speaking from a place where Arjun is, and not speaking from the place where a Kabir or Jiddu Krishnamurti is. He's speaking from where we are, because we can only start from where we are. We cannot start from there. Maybe that's the ultimate thing, but that's the pinnacle, that's the peak. How do I reach there? I'm just standing here, and if you tell me there is nothing to do, it will just happen. It will not happen. Like Osho says, 40 years people have listened to Jiddu Krishnamurti and they say nothing has happened. They have become more complacent and very gratified in the fact that Jiru Krishnamurti says, I'm not a guru. Very nice. So, it pumps up everyone's ego that I don't have to bow down to anybody. There is no guru here. And he says, there is nothing really to do. It just happens. So, very nice. I don't even have to put in any bodily effort. All this intellectual circus is very entertaining. Intellectual circus is very entertaining for many of us. We are all like that. I mean, that's why we are in this class, but we must always stay aware that this is not enough. It's a good place to start. It's good to ask questions, but that is not what will take you where Kabir is. So, to practice yoga, one should make an asana in a sanctified place. So, yoga always begins from outside to inside. Okay, always yoga practices are like that, from gross to subtle. That's how they move. So, the first thing is, um, another thing that Osho says is that from where you are, even the smallest things bother you. See, doesn't it make a difference to our energy? You walk into a room for yoga and it is, it has the right kind of lighting, it has the right kind of music, it has that little incense. Suddenly, within us, something changes. We go to a waterfall, a river, the sky is like this, the weather is great. Automatically, it becomes so easy to just sit down. It's like the space itself becomes so conducive. You can automatically go into an asana. Many of you who practice yoga are experiencing this. It happens to me. I can just go in there. There is nothing needed. But if the weather, if it's very hot, or if you're walking into a yoga room, or if, say, it's not a yoga room, you have to practice in your own bedroom with everything around. The energy is not the same, isn't it? Such small things affect us. If such small things are affecting you, it makes a difference to you, then it is better you start where Krishna says you must start. Create a proper place. It is important. So he says, so, Samaj and Anubhav, that is what he is saying, like from where Kabir speaks, Jiddu Krishnamurti speaks to coming into experience. Um, and Swami Sarvapriyananda also in his commentary has said that don't think spiritual life is not about do it yourself. It's not a DIY, I'll figure out something and I will come into enlightenment. No, there are methods, there are processes, there are steps. This is all the science of yoga. And and in Vedanta practices, they will follow focusing on Ishta Devata and doing the japa, Ishta Devata mantra ka japa. That is how they will do practice their meditation, contemplation, whatever. So first he says take kusha grass. So kusha grass actually it prevents dampness. It insulates you. So today we use rubber mats, we use cork mats, or whatever. It helps to insulate. That is why you use kusha grass. Um, I will go into that later. Okay, there is another thing that Osho speaks of kusha grass. So then the second, on top of kusha grass, you will place deer skin. So Swami Mukundananda has also mentioned, Osho also mentions, it repels insects, it'll repel scorpions and other kind of insects. So it provides a sort of safe space for you. If you have ants crawling, you cannot meditate. So, there is one, I think I have mentioned before, I don't know. So many people say, no, there is nothing to do. You can simply sit. What is there to do? Sadhguru says, yeah, what is there to do? Ramana Maharishi also says, no, simply sit. There's nothing to do. Let me see if you can sit like Ramana. That if insects and ants bite into your skin and they create wounds and they infest and you still remain unmoving, then go ahead and sit, do nothing. But if even one ant bites you and it begins to create it disturbs your concentration, it disturbs your body, then you're not there. When you are saying there is nothing to do, you can simply sit. It is meant for people like that who are not affected. So Ramana Maharishi, Osho has somewhere has said that how some people complete 99% of their journey in a previous lifetime and only 1% is left. So Ramana Maharishi is probably someone in that kind of a zone where 99% of the work he completed, only 1 degree left to come into full boiling point. Like we said, no water changing to vapor, only 1 degree left, which is all he needed to do. That's why he never got affected with all kinds of creatures biting into his skin. It didn't bother him. He didn't move. He was still sitting. And they speak of yogis who are sitting in samadhi and there are mounds, ant hills on their body and they don't move. They simply sit and it doesn't disturb them also. That level of depth to go into the cave of your heart and nothing disturbs you. We are not there. We get disturbed by small things. So yes, so deer skin, and then on top of deer skin you place cloth. So cloth, see, there are two things with fabric. um, Cotton absorbs energy, okay? Sadhguru also says. So that is why, if many of us wear those sutras, Abhaya Sutra, so cotton absorbs energy. Even Rudraksh, if you're stringing your Rudraksh, you would do it either in cotton or you would do it in silk. Cotton absorbs, it holds energy very well. Osho has mentioned that silk will not collect any energy. I'm not sure about that. We use silk shawls also in Isha, at least in the Linga Bhairavi temple we have cotton and silk as well. So, but once you have these kinds, so this is what is called intelligence of substances, intelligence of material. And Sadhguru is big into this. He really uses materials in certain way because every material has a certain property and that is its intelligence. So like in certain practices and when we go for satsang, he will tell us everybody just wear white. Please be in light colored clothes because white color does not, the vibration of white does not absorb any energy. And he will, in certain places he will tell, we are given a black shawl. There is a black shawl, it's an Adiyogi shawl we are given and we are asked to wrap it around, and black absorbs energy. And then you use that black shawl only like for your meditation, or you can bring it home and use it for that purpose. It's a cotton black shawl. So colors and the fabric, all of this has a certain property. um, Paramhans Yogananda, in his commentary, has likened this to, the three chakras. He says Kusha really works on Mooladhar because it insulates. And see, it doesn't mean we all have to take Kusha grass. You can work with a normal, regular mat, rubber mat, anything which does not conduct electricity, because when you are going deep into dhyan, there is a circuit that is created inside you. And suddenly, if that electrical energy goes out, it can create a shock. This is for deep states of samadhi. That is why you see all these yogis wear khadau, wooden slippers, just to block that circuit of energy. If it slips out, instead of creating shock, the wood will protect them. So he says Kusha works on Mooladhar. It will not allow the energy to go down into the earth. It will allow the energy to come up. That is what we want in meditation practices, energy to rise up. Then he says deer skin is something like working on Swadhisthana, which is this place of water, flesh. Really, it protects that. And then the third is the cloth or silk, which is absorbing that energy. So either cotton, which will absorb all energy, or silk, which will not absorb any energy. Not good, not bad, just keeps you as you. That works on Manipurka, he says, allowing for either energy to be retained and channeling upwards. He likens it to that. Paramhans Yogananda looks at Bhagavad Gita commentary from a tantra and chakra perspective. So sometimes it's very imaginative. It's a nice way to look at it. Okay. Then, so how should your sit be? Three asanas that we are recommended. One is Ardha Siddhasana. So if you're seeing that lady in the blue, that's an Ardha Siddhasana where you will take the left heel to the perineum, right heel to the left ankle, and the right, both hands pointing downwards is grounding. Palms facing upwards is receiving of energy. Okay. Then if you're looking at Manoj, that is a Sukhasana, where you're just simply crossing, okay? Crossing of the shin bones. And then there's Lee. How many of you know Lee? Lee is our star practitioner from New Jersey. She's 65 now. Amazing. I had to have Lee on my slide. She's an inspiration for all of us. So, so Lee is sitting in a Padmasana. So you can use one of these three asanas. Um, Krishna has said that you must sit on a that the asana should not be too high or too low. So again, people like Jiddu Krishnamurti, people who are doing intellectual circus and not doing yoga, only doing intellectual circus and not doing yoga, will say, how the hell does it matter whether I'm sitting on the roof or I'm sitting in a trench? Yes, how does it matter? Should not matter because I am Atma. But no, if you have not realized that you are Atma and you have not come into that enlightenment, then it matters. So if you are leaning forward too much or you're leaning backwards too much, how gravity impacts on your body, it will create tiredness in you at 90-degree from the floor. And this is something which is followed across the board. Like I have done practices with Art of Living, with Isha, wherever you go, with Manoj. Some people find it difficult sometimes to sit cross-legged. They can't sit on the floor. It doesn't matter. It's all right. Even with Isha, when people are taught Isha Kriya, they will say you simply sit on the chair, you cross your right ankle on top of the left ankle. So left side is the feminine side. Protect that. Right always in front of left. Okay. That's how we sit. That's why left leg first and then the right leg goes up. That's how Lee is sitting in her Padmasana. Left first and then right on top. Um, um, yeah, so back has to be straight. That is very important. You can sit on a chair also and do your meditation practice. That's not a problem. You can use back rest also if you're not able to sit on the floor, but back should be 90-degree. And the guidance there is you can keep your back supported, but leave the head free. Okay, don't have the head touching the wall. When you are at 90-degree, there is the least Gurutvakarshan, least gravitational pull on the body. And it will keep you feeling light. It will allow you to stay longer. Dhyan requires, from dhyan to go into samadhi, you need to be able to hold your sit for longer periods of time. Okay. So why should you not do it, on grounds which are too high or too low? So Osho speaks of this. He says, see, there are auspicious energies, there are lighter energies, there are supportive energies, and these vibrations are generally, on the top layer, so to say, or they're higher. There are lower vibrations which could be, underground and in caves. Uh, he says that's why people go to mountains. A lot of yoga, the yogis go to the mountains and they sit and they practice there. He says, but at your current level where you are starting, you may not even be ready for those high vibrations. They may be very auspicious vibrations, very good, but they may be too strong. They may be too much for your system because it cannot manage that circuitry right now. Your circuitry is at a certain voltage, those may be very high voltage vibrations. So you do not you don't go to the mountains and base, say that, okay, I'm going to start my meditation from here, because it can actually disturb your system and create conflicts. Same happens if you go too low, go into the trench. But he says there comes a time in a yogi's life where his inner circuit is very well established. He said once that happens, then it doesn't matter whether he is, sitting on the mountains. There are many yogis, if you look at, that the documentary on Sadhguru's life, Sadhguru Sri Brahma, there is a lot of mention of yogis who would dig underground caves and go and meditate under that, in those caves. So that is a certain level. Okay. We don't start there, we start on level ground. Okay. Now, there is one thing that Osho had also mentioned, that scientists are also confirming that if you can stay in Siddhasana for a long time, the struggle between the body and the gravitational pull will reduce and it can increase your lifespan. There is some research on that also. Mm, all right. So the inner circuit, we already spoke of that. So just mentioning, so see, in Dhyan, our own body is generating electricity. See, we are all currents, correct? And all that current is getting used when we do our work or activity. When I'm working with my hands, when I'm engaging in actions outside, that same electricity is channeling outside. When I'm doing Dhyan, then the energy doesn't go out. By energy, I mean that current, okay? That electricity does not go out. Instead, it starts moving inwards. And when it moves inwards, it creates an inner circuit. But if we are not very well established, that is when electricity can spill out. And if it spills out and you don't have insulation, you can get an electric shock. That is why they used all this. And see, I think the question comes later. So we'll look at that. Uh, Osho has mentioned this, so I'm sharing. It's just interesting. He speaks about this scientist called Theodore Reck. He says he was Freud's student, and he discovered that there are points around your jaw and your mouth where the anger vrittis are stored. So he says, see, violence in animals, how does it happen? It happens through nails and teeth, isn't it? And we are all karmic baggage. We have all been animals also in some lifetime. It's like, you know how Sadhguru says, 1 minute you're a snake, next minute you're a dog, then you are a cat. You are like that. You know, all of this is happening inside you. You want to bite, you want to sting like a scorpion. We are all like this. We have it. And he says, 6 months, you do this every day. Your Kriya, your yoga, everything will become quiet. All these animals, that is the Pashu in us. We all carry the Pashu in us. And this violence of the Pashu gets stored around the jaw, in the teeth. So he said he would make, his patients lie down and he would press very hard around their jaws and they would cry and yell and they would even hit him. But he said from the next day onwards, they started experiencing a transformation. So again, it's what he was saying is that where the flow of energy is, where is this electricity of anger flowing, and how you knock into it, tap into it, and break out of that. So, I think he was just trying to, elaborate a little bit on the antarvartul, the electrical circuit that is created inside the body. So how do you lock this circuit? So see, you've seen the images of Buddha and Mahavir, and they sit like that, okay, right? Their mudra is like that. So everything is locked, okay? This is locked. The legs are locked. Left heel goes into the Mooladhara, leg, right heel touches the left ankle. That is also locked. Where does energy dissipate from? Energy goes out from your hands. It goes out. This is your fingertips. It's flowing out from your hands and it's flowing out from your feet. So that is why when we do our dhyan practices, we are given a mudra. Like Sadhguru gives us the yoga mudra. So yoga mudra also, it has to be held. You know, remember he tells us so clearly, do not create gaps. Make sure there are no gaps. Make sure all the four fingers are connected. The thumb and the index finger are in a perfect round. And then he will say, never straighten it out like that. He says, don't straighten it out. It should be loose and relaxed. So you should be able to move your elbow. So don't learn it like that. Varsha, talk to me and I'll explain to you. Okay. So it should be like that. So why? He says, don't straighten it out like that. Keep the tension should only be up to your wrist. There should be no tension upwards. Why? he says the energy will start becoming negative. If there is, you should keep only this tense, meaning if this becomes very loose, it will fall. But your fingers have to be engaged, and up to here, there should be tension. But from here upwards, it's like if you're sitting, your shoulders and elbows are loose and relaxed. Only your hand up to your wrist, there is a certain amount of tension to engage that. Keep it engaged, not let it fall. And that has been given because yogis understand how this electrical circuit is working inside us. So he says very clearly, do not do it. Don't keep your arms ramrod straight because that will make it negative. So this is how we close the circuit of the body. Then the energy does not leak, not from the bottom, not from the feet, not from the hands. It starts creating an inner circuit, and then the energy starts flowing inside. So Osho very beautifully says once that happens, it's almost like you are ready to enter the cave, and there is a thin wall that is created between that which you are and the indriyas. Because indriyas is what takes you out, correct? Now we have shut the door, everything is going inside, and there's a little wall, there's like a thin wall that is created, and you're going inside because everything is locked now. The doors are locked. See, dharana itself means no deshabandhasya deshabandhachittasya dharanam. So all the gates are locked. That is how Maharishi Patanjali defines dharana. All gates locked. What are the gates? The gates are your senses. All of those gates locked, you're coming inside. So Osho mentioned that. I thought it was very nice to look at it like a wall between you and the senses now. Now it's only the energy is going only inwards. Uh, So I spoke of this. Jiddu Krishnamurti, who is saying that there is no path to follow. Um, then when should you do the practice? Krishna also mentions, so when he says high and low, there is a time for practice. I have to first confess before I speak, I do not follow strict timings. If it happens, very nice. Otherwise, life the way it is, make it happen. That's how at least I follow. So ideal time for practice is Sandhya Kal. Sandhya Kal means 20 minutes before sunrise and 20 minutes after sunrise, or 20 minutes before sunset or 20 minutes after sunset. These two timings are ideal for yoga practices because the influence of the sun rays is not direct. Afternoon Sandhya Kal, Osho says, it is not really recommended. We do it. I mean, at Isha, we are told 20 minutes even. It may not, it's not the best. The best is the morning and the evening Sandhya Kal. Afternoon Sandhya Kal is before 20 minutes before noon and 20 minutes after noon. He says that the sun is straight and the energy of the sun is pulling it down. So it's almost like you are doing a journey from top to down. It's pushed. That's what Osho says. But see, all practices are designed in a certain way. So when Sadhguru is designing a practice, he knows the kind of people we are. So there are safeguards which are built in the practice so that you can do it at any time and it will keep you safe. It's not to say that what Osho is saying is wrong. Probably it is right because he says that is why people do tratak practices on the sun. So when they become really adept and well established in the tratak practices of gazing at the sun, then the influence of sun reduces on them and the energy does not go from top down. This is why they are saying direct influence of sun. Instead, you do it at Sandhya Kal when it's more like going across. It's and it will allow the energy to move from Mooladhara to upper chakras. Okay. I want Brahma Muhurtam, at least at Isha, is again highly recommended for any practices that you are initiated in. Sadhguru says if you do, the practices that you are initiated in during Brahma Muhurtam, uh, the benefits and its efficacy really uh, sort of it heightens the efficacy of those practices if it's done during Brahmakal. For just so that so certain the practices into which we are initiated, say like Shambhavi or a Shunya or a Shakti Chalana Kriya. Those practices at Isha, we are told you should not do it during the midnight Sandhya Kal, the midnight Sandhya Kal. That is also a Sandhya Kal. 20 minutes before midnight, 20 minutes after midnight. So that Sandhya Kal only brahmacharis can do those practices. For householders, we are told not to do. However, simple practices like miracle of the mind or simply doing nadi shuddhi or just simply sitting with eyes closed, all of that is okay. But the ones into which we are initiated, those you should not do at the midnight time. Just letting you know, again, it all depends upon the way the yogi has designed the practice. Like I know certain practices at Art of Living also, we are told, especially when you do some sanyam with them, some of those Sanyam practices, we were told don't do it when it's just your bedtime. Like even Shunya, you should keep 1 hour gap before sleeping. Don't do Shunya like that. So it depends upon who has created the practice, how it is designed, for who it is designed, what are the safeguards that are built. It's really an engineering thing. It's a device that has been given to you. How you use this device, it will come with the user manual. They will tell you, and every school will have its own way depending upon both the yogi and the people who are following to suit them. Okay, now, there is a question that was asked to Osho, that Osho, first Krishna says there is kusha grass, then he will say on top of that you put deer skin, and then clothing, and then the land has to be pure. Please say something about this. Before I go further, I want to mention so Swami Sarvapriyananda, on this particular shloka. He says, see, I don't know much about this. I have never even been interested. I found it very funny. I found that funny, the comment very funny, because he's so intellectually heavy. And I'm not saying that he does his meditation practices, but getting into all of this, I've not been interested. Anyhow, so Osho says that certain things have a catalytic influence. So kusha घास, ये कुशा घास कहाँ से आया? कौन सी घास कुशा घास है? There are thousands of grass that is growing around. So he said it very nicely. He said that, see, how did these people in those times know that this particular grass will insulate? They had no laboratories. They did not have any ways to find out or run tests, but still they knew. So this word kusha comes from kushal, skillful. So that yogi who was able to go and among so many different kinds of grass, he was able to pick the grass that was able to insulate. That grass came to be known as kusha grass because it was picked by the one who was skillful. That is how it came to be. And yes, that particular grass will insulate you. So that's where it comes from. Uh, so See, if you remember in Yoga Sutra, we spoke of Lukman, who found the Unani system of medicine, and how he was, in his dream, he had this angels or the divine come to him. And he says that next day morning, he woke up with a greater sense of clarity. And when he went near plants, he could. He was almost like in communion with plants. He wrote the properties of so many plants and herbs which was not known. There was no way to know uh, what was a particular benefit of a herb. So how was it that people like Dhanvantri or the Sushruta who gave the manuals on Ayurveda, how did these people know? They knew it through meditation. When you come into a certain state of meditation, you can simply, your consciousness, which is attached to your body and mind, becomes fluid, it becomes loose. Now your consciousness can go and touch like my consciousness can go out and touch Vinay and it will know what is he all about. And I can pull it back. Or my consciousness can go and touch Ginger. And I know exactly what Ginger does and it can come back. So it is not known through intellect, text, or the way we discover in laboratories. It is known through consciousness, through meditation. That is how these people knew. So Lakman knew like that, and then yeah, these meditators who were searching for kusha grass, they found it like that. Then Osho then, a special kind of place, a pure place. Osho says every home must have one corner which should just be kept, where he says जहां पर कभी भी कोई दुर्विचार ना आया हो. One, you should have one corner in your home like that. And he said at a deeper level, this is really a place inside your heart, the cave of your heart. But if you can, you must have a corner like that. So that's like your pure land. And he says, see, all these things will have influences. And you will notice, isn't it true that sometimes you are in some people's company and you feel very enthused, you feel very energized just by sitting with them. And there are some people, if you are in their company and you start feeling depressed, there is depression that starts happening. Doesn't it happen to all of us? It just not sometimes, even if they're not talking, it's like just being with them for a little longer, your own energy starts becoming heavy and you don't know what's going on. Why am I feeling like that? Vibrations are like that. We are sensitive to this. We are we are not in that equanimous state yet. So we do get affected by it. That is why these things are supportive. That is why, like even people create their own little meditation spaces. Osho says, yes, it is beneficial. Certain incense, fragrances, they will trigger certain things in us. See, what is fragrance? It is vasana. What is the meaning of vasana? Smell. It is all smell. We are all nothing at, if we sort of move from the gross to the subtle, we are not flesh and blood. We are smells. We are simply vasanas. That is our code. Once this body drops, we are simply that. Just that fragrance, just that. So whether you're a fragrance or we are a stench, we don't know. Sadhguru says the enlightened being is a fragrance. He's a fragrance. Somebody had asked Sadhguru once, Sadhguru, if one of us gets enlightened, how will you know? So he says, you don't worry about that. The fragrance of the enlightened being, it will reach me. He's actually said that. So it's a certain fragrance. That is the vasana. So, keeping incense, your crystals, because each of these objects has a certain energy and it is supportive. And if you connect with it, well and good, keep it. All right. Seated firmly on it, the yogi should strive to purify the mind by focusing it in meditation with one pointed concentration, controlling all thoughts and activities. He must hold the body, neck, and head firmly in a straight line and gaze at the tip of the nose without allowing the eyes to wander. So, drishti. So, we already spoke about 90-degree spine, that is very important, and nasikra drishti. So this creates a lot of confusion and controversy in Autobiography of a Yogi. If you have, you know, read that, Lahari Mahasya says, yes, all we want is now for people to get cross-eyed. Tell them to focus on the tip of the nose and they'll get headaches. So Osho explains this very nicely. He says, when Krishna says nasikra drishti, he's saying, okay, you bring your eyes to the tip of the nose, but what he's saying is you lower your eyelids. You just half close them. Okay, so it's not fully closed because if you close fully, what will happen? You will go into sleep. If you open fully, you will start engaging with the outside world. So what you do is you half close them. You half close them, you sit straight and you look just in the line of the tip of your nose down on the floor. So you only see about 2 feet of the floor in front of you. That's all. So it's focusing. He says, when you do this, then the pressure, चोट पड़ती है आपके अग्न्या पर. That is the real thing. When you focus like this on the floor with half closed eyes, it hits your agnya. And this is the place. He says, if energy begins to hit your agnya, it's like a number lock. It will open up and it will bring you the revelation. It will create the circuitry that is needed. It's literally like it will hit and there's a number lock hota na, cut. Yes, the third eye open or whatever. It's just a way to explain that idea. um, so I have done some meditations with Sri Sri where he also says, just half open eyes, just gaze for some time. He will make you gaze. He gives some guidance, and he will say, close your eyes and just be. So his guidance on Nasikragra is just take it in that line and just close your eyes. Let go. Don't go beyond that. At Isha, the way Sadhguru has designed these practices, he never tells us to focus on the tip of the nose. He always tells us. So this time in the satsang, he called a man who was sitting in the front and he was bald. He said, "Yeah, I need different kinds of people for different kinds of demonstration." He called him on the stage. He made him sit. Then he said, "Okay, now if you see his head, if I was to put a rod through his ears, okay, and one rod here, so if you lift your head, this becomes 45 degrees. Do you see this? This will become 45. This is at a tilt of 45 degrees." He said, "This is how we want it. When we tell you to lift your head up, those of you who have done Isha Kriya, we are always told, no, just lift the chin slightly up and keep a mild focus on the middle of your eyebrows. So this is supposed to be 45-degree angle. So you just imagine a rod from here and then going from here. So this is like a tilt of 45-degree. He says when you do that, then automatically there is attention which will go to the middle of the eyebrows and agnya par chot lagni chahiye. So all our practices, at least Shambhavi also we sit like that. Even at Isha Kriya we sit like that. He will tell us miracle of the mind if any of you are doing. And I started doing that in the night, just sometimes, if I've not done or didn't have chance to do all my practices or whatever. It's so nice. You should try it. I just sit in my bed with it's the only practice I can do in the most comfortable way. Otherwise, you have to take out your mat, you have to do in your Ardha Siddhasana. This one is just keep your spine straight. So I even leave my legs straight. It's just before bedtime and I keep my back supported. It was intoxicating. It got me drunk. I started on 7 and then it continued and I let it go on till like 21 minutes. It was like I didn't want it to stop. It was so nice. And then I just went off to sleep. I also noticed that if I do if I do our Sukha Kriya or Sukha Kriya is what we are taught at Isha. So we were told to do Sukha Kriya for, you know, 12 to 20 minutes. I don't do it that long, but a few minutes I do Sukha Kriya and then I go into the miracle of mind meditation and sleep. I have noticed my sleep quality is better. Uh, I am waking up with fewer hours of sleep, but not feeling like how I would with those many hours of sleep. So I found it very helpful. If you want, just try it. It's a very nice bedtime routine, the only one that is allowed at bedtime, because none of our other practices we can do at bedtime. So it's very comfortable. Just put your AirPods, sit on your bed. Ah, nice. All right. Okay. So this is, from Paramhans Yogananda. He says, see, he is asking Arjun to keep his spine straight. His Gandiv has fallen. So he always brings this visuals and imagery. And, this is like, this bow is like the string is stretched, it's ready. But Arjun is like loose, it's all fallen. Um, uh, it's like this, and it should be straight. So Paramhans Yogananda likens it to all of this. This is how he sees it very visually. All right. Thus, with a serene, fearless, and unwavering mind, and staunch in the vow of celibacy, the vigilant yogi should meditate on me, having me alone as the supreme goal. One second, there are 3 chat messages here. That's why priests wear silk for puja. Yeah, for puja. Yeah, because it will not absorb any energy. According to Osho, silk doesn't absorb energy. Yeah, Shaila. Uh, okay. So meditate on me. Uh, so he's saying Prashant Atma. ठीक रूप से शांत हुआ. Now, Osho goes a little bit into detail. He says, Shanti, if you are at peace, you're at peace. What is this idea of ठीक रूप से शांत हुआ? इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? Is there something called as right peace and wrong peace? So Osho says, see, you can also hypnotize yourself in peace. You can keep saying, I'm peaceful, everything is being looked after for me. Keep doing, you can hypnotize. See, affirmation is also a way of hypnosis. It can work at a certain level, not that it doesn't work. That is why Osho is saying, don't think that that hypnosis is the real thing. It will work, but it works only at one level. It doesn't go deep enough. He says, ठीक रूप से शांत हुआ, meaning you understand what are the causes of fear and you remove the causes for fear. Fearless means not that I am courage. See, there is difference between courage and fearlessness. Courage means causes of fear exist inside me. मुझे डर लग रहा है पर फिर भी मैं जाऊंगा, शेर के सामने जाऊंगा, मुझे डर लग रहा है पर I will raise my voice and I will stand up for this. I am afraid, but I'm going to do this. This is courage. It has its value in the world, in our regular world. But when we are speaking in the spiritual dimension, ठीक रूप से शांत हुआ व्यक्ति is the one in whom causes of fear have only disappeared. He goes, stands there because it should be done. There is no fear inside him. Do you see the difference? There is no cause for fear only. He is so well established within himself. And you will see this at different gradients and level if you just see people around also. You know, um, somebody may be say in a simple classroom, there are children who may be very scared to speak to the teacher about a certain thing, or maybe may find it maybe very hesitant to raise their voice or to put forward their ideas. And there are some who are so well established within themselves that no, this is the right thing, I will stand up and say. What is there to fear? The idea of fear doesn't even cross into their mind. I have a nephew who's like this, who was very chotu, who was like 6 or 8 years old. This guy he's something, okay? Uh, he would go in front of the stage, he goes on the stage, he acts. There is no hesitation. There is such, even at that age, he looked so established. He's a very gifted kid also. I mean, no doubt about that. He's a very, very gifted child, but really quite amazing. Does that clarify? Do I make sense when I say courage and fearlessness are two different things? Courage means causes of fear exist inside you, but you're putting a bold face. Okay, necessary sometimes, but abhay, the word abhay means no fear at all. There is absolutely no fear. You can work from a place of absolute comfort and put your ideas forward. Do what is needed. Does that make sense? Yeah. Ratna, not making sense? Okay. All right. Okay. सो ठीक रूप से जो शांत हुआ. सो ओशो बोलते हैं कोई पॉलिटिशियन आता है उनके पास एंड ही विल से ओशो मेडिटेशन करना है, ध्यान नहीं होता. सो ओशो से कैसे होगा, आप पॉलिटिशियन हैं, आपको जीतना है, अब ये सब करना है, तो फिर ध्यान कैसे होगा? द कॉजेस ऑफ conflict, the causes of Ashanti exist in you. So identify the causes of Ashanti and do away with them. Only then you become established in peace, truly established in peace. Swami Sarvapriyananda in his commentary says that, see, you will become Ashant, you will lose your peace if you do not act in an ethical way, in a moral way, and how to keep yourself peaceful as worldly people engage in activities which are for the welfare of the society and keep some time for God realization. He has followed that line of thought, just touching upon that. See, there is a little bit here that I want to go into it. Mm. This idea of fear, okay? Uh, when do we feel fear? The greatest fear we studied in Yoga Sutra is Abhinivesha. It's the fear of death. And they say the fear of death exists even among the wise ones, okay? So death is a fear that exists in us. Osho explains, he said, see, when you go into dhyan, and as a dhyan जैसी चीज में जब आप उतर रहे हैं, you should be ready to die. Because he says one thing is the death of the body. We are all aware of it. Huh? Death of the body is fine. I'll also not be there. Body is also dead. Okay. Somehow in our mind, we do our own calculations. He says, but when you are in dhyan, your awareness is so sharp. But you will start seeing that your mind is dying, isn't it? What happens in dhyan? Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. In dhyan, when dhyan turns into samadhi, mind dissolves. Mind will disappear. And you will see your mind dying and dissolving. And this can create such fear in people. As Osho bolte hain, there comes a stage in a sadhak's life when he hits this level of dhyan, it's like a jump. He just has to take the jump. If he has fear inside him, he will not be able to take it and he will return from there. And he said that can make him vikshipta, that can create problems for him. Like as I have heard Sadhguru say or Osho say that from Agnya to Sahasrara, he says there is no way. It's like a guru just pushes you. Oh, your guru or your God or your Shraddha, whatever it is, whatever your Shraddha is that which pushes you. So, wherever there is Shraddha, fear is not possible, isn't it? If you have Shraddha, fear is not possible. If there is love, fear is not possible. The presence of fear is an indication that love is not blossoming inside you. So Osho says that is why for sadhaks they should be warned, they should be told that such a time will come. You will see the mind dissolving and don't be afraid. Because if those causes of fear are not addressed, then you're not established in abhay. That's why he says theek roop se shant hua vyakti. It is very important that you don't have a superficial sense of peace, which is just by arranging your social and your outward circumstances in such a way or hypnotizing yourself that is also a certain hypnosis. No, I'm just creating some social arrangements, some living arrangements, and I get a sense of peace. That peace should be inner, that whatever happens on the outside, even if this is disturbed, this does not waver. So that is what he's talking of, and he says usi ko wo theek roop se shant hua vyakti bolte hain. So Osho says this warning should be given to the sadhak, otherwise he will not be able to take that final jump when the time comes. All right. Um, he has spoken of brahmacharya also here, with a serene, fearless, so peaceful, fearless, abhay, and unwavering mind, very well established, staunch in the vow of celibacy. What does it mean to be staunch in the vow of celibacy? Should we all become brahmacharis? That's why I said the person who is giving Gita Gyan and the person who is receiving Gita Gyan both are not celibate. So we should look at the definition of brahmacharya very carefully here. He's not telling you his meaning of brahmacharya is really like what we studied in Yoga Sutras, movement in the Brahman. The energy moving in Brahman is brahmacharya. It's really, for me, it was really meditation. At its most basic level, it is meditation. How is your dhyan? How is your attention flowing? How is your energy moving? And how are you directing? Your ability to direct your energy in your own system is brahmacharya, is true. And then what will happen to women? Is this meant only for men to control their semen? What will happen to women? What is brahmacharya sadhana for women? Have you thought about it? I want to speak a little bit about it. It will come in the 10th chapter, but we will look at that. Let's first go through this slide and then we'll talk about it because very interesting. So, according to Ayurveda, 40 drops of blood go into making 1 drop of semen. That is the amount of energy, electricity, voltage that the body uses. Those who waste their semen develop unsteady and agitated prana. They lose their physical and mental energy and weaken their memory, mind, and intellect. The practice of celibacy leads to a boost of bodily energy, clarity of intellect, gigantic willpower, retentive memory, and a keen spiritual intellect. It creates a sparkle in the eyes, and this is from the Ayurveda texts that I have taken this. Sadhguru also says how he says semen is so powerful, it can create a new life, isn't it? Do you recognize the power of the semen? It can create a new life. That is its potency. You can use this potency to send this energy back inside and use it to lift it upwards because that much potency you've got. Now, when Vasna settles in a man, Osho says brahmacharya is born. Why does the leaking of semen does not happen? Because Vasana has settled, desires are settled. This is childish for such a person who is established in brahmacharya. He also says when Vasana settles in a woman, then Kirti is born. Not Kiti, it's Kirti is born. I'll speak about that a little bit. Does that make sense? Brahmacharya means that your Vasanas have settled, that you now know how to use that energy which is there inside you and direct it in a certain way. And when Vasana settles in a woman, then Kirti is born. Now, how will you apply this? This has actually was a question in my mind because I was a yoga student, and we have brahmacharya as one of our things in Ashtanga yoga, and all of us are women, okay? 90% are women there. And how does this even apply to us? So, see, women, there is no semen. There is no semen that we can control. That energy cannot be held in a woman's body because every 28 days, that energy leaks out of her body. That is how the biology of the woman is designed. So, how will the woman use this energy to, send it back inside her? It's not possible, right? So Osho says, when Vasana settles in a woman, then Kirti is born. In chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I am Stri. He says this, I am Stri, I'm a woman. Krishna says that when Arjun asks him, no, that if I want to understand you, he says, I'm a people tree, I'm a sun, I am Arjun among the Pandavas, I am a Ram among the warriors. If you want to understand me, then see me here. And I am Stri. By Stri, he means that woman in whom all vasanas have dropped. See, there are women who want to be seen as objects of desire, right? Women want to be seen as objects of desires, hot, sexually very appealing. In our world, this is rampant, correct? As long as a woman wants to be seen like this, vasanas have not settled in her. They are they are really they're going wild. He says, when Vasana settles in a woman, then a man who looks at her lustfully, even that man's lust will neutralize just because of this woman's energy, because Vasana has settled in her. She has become a mother to the world. Kirti means the woman has become a mother to the world. Matritva mein, when a woman rises into matritva, the bhav of motherhood, that is when Kirti ka janma hota hai, Osho bolte hain usme. That is when she is truly a stri, not an object of desire. That is what makes a woman a woman. And such a woman can, in the presence of such a woman, any man's vasana will settle down. He will quieten down. He will experience shanti. It is beautifully explained when we come to chapter 10. We will go into it. But Osho says, Kirti isi ko bolte hain. This is how, he has explained. And it clarified, this idea of brahmacharya among women. This is how women to have to practice brahmacharya. And it's for us, those of us who do Shambhavi in our engineering, it's one of our practices. I'm a mother to the world. And when he says that I am a mother to the world, it applies to men also, because when Krishna happens, everybody else is a gopi. Everybody else is a woman. You have to rise in your feminine quality, in the left side of your being. That has to become very strong. So, okay. Thus, constantly keeping the mind absorbed in me, the yogi of disciplined mind attains nirvana. What is nirvana? Extinction of samsara is nirvana, okay? And abides in me, self in supreme peace. Uh, One second, huh? I just want to check something. All right, so it is this shloka only. See, is in the Hindi translation, when I was listening to Osho, it goes, Nirantar jo mera smaran karta hai. Nirantar. If you are in remembrance of Krishna, of the divine all the time, then you are established in me. Then you are established in Krishna. That is what he's saying. The important thing is sada, sadatmanam, which meaning all the time established in Atma, and Atma is that idea of Krishna, always remembering Krishna. So, how to do this? Is it possible for us? Nirantar, this moment, next moment, I have to think of something else. So how will I remember Krishna? Very logical question, no? I mean, अब मैं ये काम करूंगी अभी. If I'm talking to you, if I'm doing some work, how am I going to remember Krishna? We only know one way of remembering, the way we remember intellectually with our mind and our thoughts, isn't it? So it's a very logical question. How do I remember you all the time? How should, so he says, Osho says, it should become like your breath. Krishna should become coded inside your breath. आपकी breath चलती है, आपको सोचना पड़ता है कि आपकी breath चलेगी कि नहीं. आपका डाइजेशन होता है, आप डाइजेशन करते हैं कि डाइजेशन अपने आप होता है. So he said, when he's saying, if you sada atmanam, if you can remember me all the time, then you are established in me. So see, so Osho went into two things that he explains. He says, remember those two previous sutras on solitude and aparigraha. So solitude means not loneliness, it is all oneness. It is about going into the cave of your inner heart, correct? That is our understanding of solitude. Aparigraha meaning I can be surrounded by objects. Objects are for my use, but I am not in any romance with objects. I have no infatuation with objects. Okay, these two things are prerequisite to come into Nirantar Bhagwan ka Smaran. Nirantar Smriti mein rehna. This is Smriti. This is really true Smriti. So, uh, he says, see, you can have a car, you are using the car, well and good. It saves you time, it helps you to get faster from point A to point B. But now you are having a romance with this car. He says there was a, he speaks of this neighbor of his. He said, real life. He said he had a new scooter. Okay. He said every day morning I saw him, he would, polish it, he would clean it, then he would cover it, take his old cycle and ride to college. He said, I kept watching it for some time. Then one day I asked him that you have this new scooter, why don't you use this? Oh, he said, no, no, today it is raining, it will get dirty. I'll keep it here. I'll just go on my cycle or I'll just walk with the umbrella. This is how he will do. Another day, he will say that, no, if I park there, somebody bumps into it, it will get scratches. The parking area is not nice. I need a clean parking area for this. So he was having a romance with his scooter. See, this is called Osho says this is infatuation with objects which are supposed to serve you. These objects are supposed to serve you to make your life easier, but you become servants to these objects. This is very important aspect of aparigraha. So what this person is doing is parigraha. It's like, it's not that he possesses, the scooter is possessing him. The scooter is possessing him. He does not possess the scooter. So the point with aparigraha is that there is no problem in you having things, in you having conveniences, in you owning two houses if it makes life easier for you. But if the house begins to own you, your car begins to own you and dictates you and runs you around, that's a problem. So for such a person who is very attached to objects, who has not come into aparigraha, निरंतर भगवान का स्मरण कैसे होगा? Because mind is soaked in my scooter, in my gold, in my car, in my house. Mind is soaked. How will the mind go into Bhagwan? And the second thing is the ability to go into the cave of the heart. Okay, so he says these two are prerequisites. So now the question to Osho is back again. So how will I remember God all the time? How can you say this moment, then next moment again, then I'll keep remembering God? How will I pay attention to what I'm doing? Isn't it? And for me, this was an obvious logical question. So he says, whenever you have a moment, you have only one moment, isn't it? Whenever you have a moment, you have only one moment. In this moment, can you remember God? In this moment, can you deeply and totally remember God? If you learn to deeply and totally remember God in this moment, and if it has, and God has happened to you, this is always available to you. Still doesn't clarify. So Osho explains with another example. He says there was a Zen monk, okay? People used to go to him and ask him, give us a meditation, show us a practice so that I can also find God. And he would give little practices to people. So one day, just as he was finishing his meditation and he was almost going out, and all the crowds had left, there was a child, 12-year-old child, who comes to him. He offers flowers at his feet and he says, "Please tell me how I can find God." Now, what does he say to this 12-year-old child? And what practice should he give him? But he doesn't have the heart to refuse. So he says, "Okay, can you show me how you will clap?" So he says, "Okay, I clap like this. Okay, there's a sound that is coming. You hear the sound of this clap?" He says, "Can you find me the sound of this clap with only one hand?" So he says, "With one hand, there is no sound." He says, "You go, this is your meditation. Find the sound of one hand clapping." So this child goes, he starts, he sits near the pond, he hears the frogs, and he says, "Yeah, this sounds like it." So he goes back to the Zen monk. He says, "See the sound of the frogs." So he said, "No, that is not it. That is not the sound of one hand clapping." So like this, he keeps coming for a few days, months, few months pass. And he keeps sitting quietly. Slowly, he stops coming to the monk and he spends more time just sitting quietly. And there comes a time, over 2 years, something happens to him, and he comes back to that monk and he offers flowers at his feet. He says, "I don't know what is the sound of one hand clapping, but I have found God. In that silence, I entered the cave and I found God." So that monk is very pleased, very happy. He says, "That is the sound of one hand clapping." So, and once you have found that sound of one hand clapping, can it ever disappear? Can it ever disappear? So when he's saying निरंतर भगवान का स्मरण, एक बार भगवान का वो स्मरण हो गया, एक बारी you have encountered him, वो तो रहेगा ही. It is there, isn't it? Whenever you want, you can go inside. Whenever you, but it is always there. It is always there, just like your breath. Does that make sense? Is it making sense? Otherwise, you can listen to Osho. वो इतना अच्छा समझाते हैं, वो बहुत अच्छे से समझाते हैं. It's like you listen to him and things start happening. And sometimes when I have to deliver him, I'm like, "Osho, how? How am I going to say this?" So it's difficult to say how he says, but this is how he broke it, and बहुत अच्छे, very beautiful. I will share that link with you if you want. Listen to him. So he says, once you have found that antar gufa inside you, it is always there. Then in this moment, I have remembered God. At any point, it is always this moment, and it is always there in the background. This is called as Bhagwan ka nirantar smaran. In later on, in the ninth chapter, verse 22, where he's saying Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Ye Jana, which I shared, 9.22, I shared on the group, on our group. And that who in that shloka, Krishna is saying, whoever uh, uh, keeps their chintan on me in an unbroken way. Ananya chinta. Anya meaning other. Chintan has gone to other. Ananya means no other, only God. Only Krishna me chintan. He says, whoever does chintan and remembers me like this, Ananya chintayanto mam, ye janah paryupasate, tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. I am responsible for him. I will carry things for him personally. And for me, this is one of my favorite shlokas from Bhagavad Gita. It's like I can hold Krishna to his promise now. Now he can't. It's literally, for me, it was like that. Now you can't go back on your word. So, because he has said, he has promised that. And all he's saying is, Ananyashchint, that without breaking, you keep your mind on me. So, when Osho explains this, very beautifully, he explains. He says, कैसे तुम भगवान का चिंतन करोगे? Every moment, how should he be? So he gives this example. He says, you have seen, I think I mentioned it in a previous class. He says, you have seen those Rajasthani women who are carrying the pots of water on their head. Okay, 3 pots of water. They are moving in a group, right? The water is filled right to the brim. 2 3 of them are walking back. They are talking to each other also. And uh, water does not spill. Does it mean that they don't have their attention on the water? They are talking, they're engaged in conversation with you. But in the background, this is always there, isn't it? Otherwise, how will they walk? It's not possible to walk, to keep that balance, to not have the water spill if the Chintan is not there in the background, correct? This is called Chintan. It always runs in the background. It is always there. It becomes like your breath. You don't have to conscious. The way we know remembrance is through thought. Oh, I have to think about God, so I should do this. We are very intellect and thought focused. But this is happening in a different way. It's almost like your energy. It's like your breath. Every time the breath comes in, it is there. Every time the breath goes out, it is there. Obviously, it is there because if it is not there, it is not possible that I took the next step and the pot did not fall off. Correct? If I lose attention, either the pot would fall off or the water will fall off. I would take off my hand from there. ना अगर चिंतन गया तो मैं उसको छोड़ दूंगी. If I'm so involved in the conversation with my friend. Does that make sense? This is Chintan. This is Nirantar Chintan of God. And in Krishna Connect practice, we did a little taste of this, doing this for 21 days consciously through thought and intellect, because that is what we know. So we have to start from where we know till this becomes like till this colors our breath. It has to, it's like वो गाना है ना सदगुरु के लिए, रंग दे तुम रंग दे मुझको मोहे अपने रंग रंग में, ऐसी तेरी लागी हम हो गए अनुरागी, झूठे रंग उतरे हम हो गए बैरागी, डोर ये बांधी तूने क्यों ऐसी, खींचे मुझे यूं दूरी हो कैसी, रंग ये कैसा मुझ पे चढ़ा है, रंग दे तू मोहे अपने रंग में. This is how our breath should become. The breath should, so right now our Sama Yoga is with Sukh and Dukh. We are being told create a little yoga with this, make your consciousness little bit separate from these objects. Now get your consciousness with Krishna, so your breath becomes colored with Krishna, then it is always there, then it is Nirantar. And the one who with a disciplined mind, then you come into nirvana. So this is how Osho has explained. Now this is the shloka on which Vedantins have a huge problem and find it very difficult to explain, because the word yunjan is being used. And I will go into that. We have 10 minutes. We are at 9:20 right now. So we will continue and close after this. So sadatmanam, sada atmana meaning nirantar, मेरे को याद करता हुआ. In Hindi, when Osho commentary explanation was happening, that is how they have explained. Okay, so now from Swami Sarvapriyananda's Vedanta perspective, how should a Vedantin explain this? So he is going with Sadatma Nam Yogi. Engaged in meditation on self, realization will happen. Krishna is saying this. Okay, Sadatma, engaged in meditation on the self. आत्मा के ऊपर meditate करो. Krishna बोल, if you go by the Vedantin structure, it is being said that you must meditate on Atma. Do you see the contradiction and the ridiculousness of that? Okay, we'll go into it. Not as and when you feel like, in a disciplined way, you must concentrate on it. Sad Atmanam, Swami Sarvapriyananda says, breaks into two. Sat plus Atma. Sat is existence. Existence of what? Existence of reality. That which cannot be. I'm just giving the background, then we'll go into it. That which cannot be negated in past, present, or future. You should meditate on that particular aspect of reality which always is. So there are two things in our world. Things can be impermanent. When do we call things impermanent? Today, so today, I look like this. 20 years ago, I looked different. So even my face and my body is impermanent. It keeps changing. Maybe 40 years down the line, this body will not exist. So obviously, this body is impermanent. So this cannot be reality. This body is impermanent, so it cannot be real. Make sense? Is that logical? It is not real because it is impermanent. What is reality? That which exists in past, present, future. That which exists is always is real. Is reality, is existent. Satchitanand. You know, it should always be. Only then it can be called reality. Only that which is permanent is real. This is Vedantin principle, isn't it? This is Advaita principle. Only that which is permanent is real. Atma is real because it is permanent. Body to chali jayegi. Mind bhi chala jayega. These are unreal. So don't meditate on the body and mind. Correct, because they are unreal. Sadatma, that which is Atma, which is real, meditate on that. Okay, just be with these ideas. We'll go through it step by step. So don't meditate on that. Then falsification. Second level of negation is, uh, you know, don't start thinking objects around you as reality. See, we can take an object. I can say, I'm going to meditate on my phone. I'm going to meditate on uh, uh, um, what I want to explain is, okay, I'm going to meditate on an object around me. But is that object real? Is an object real? No, the object is also not real, isn't it? It can, because Advaita Vedanta says everything is Maya. Everything which is surrounding you is Maya. So if all objects that are surrounding me is Maya, I cannot meditate on an object also, right? I cannot even meditate on um, I think somewhere he gives this example, Swami Sarvapriyananda, on my grandmother. So my grandmother, I only know her when she was 50 plus. If you tell me to identify my grandmother when she was a little girl of 11 years old, I have no relation to that. I have no connection to that. Okay. So all this is Maya. It is unreal. So I cannot take an object of Maya, of tree or flower, and meditate on that, because this is Maya. It is not real. Advaita Vedanta, if they are trying to interpret this shloka, Krishna is saying Sad Atmanam. Okay, Sad Atmanam. Yogi should be established in that. So, and he's speaking of dhyan. This chapter is on dhyan. So, आपको किस चीज पे meditate करना है? सदात्मा, आप reality is Maya, the way we know it. Object world is Maya, so you cannot meditate on it because it is unreal. And you cannot meditate on the body because that is also not permanent. It is impermanent. So that which is false and that which is impermanent cannot be meditated upon. You must meditate on that which is permanent, because only that is reality. All right. Very nice. Uh, this isness is you. Okay. Atma is you, because this always is. Your isness is what is lending experience to your reality. Correct. These are Advaita Vedanta principles. Correct. Everybody is in agreement with that, right? Now, Yunjan. Krishna is saying, constantly keeping the mind absorbed in me, the yogi of disciplined mind attains nirvana. Please understand, Advaita Vedanta is not even speaking of God as an object. See, for them, it's just Brahman, which is the ultimate reality. In their practices, if you go to Vedanta schools, they will say Devi Bhakti karo, puja karo, because all this helps to purify, etc. All of that is their Ishta Devata. But the ultimate reality is Brahman, correct? That is what is real, that is what exists, that is what is permanent. So according to this shloka, in an Advaita structure, you must meditate on the permanent, on Atma. But we studied Atma has no form, it cannot be seen, it cannot be touched. How do you meditate upon it? How can you meditate? It is not an object. You can meditate only on an object, isn't it? Atma is not an object. So this is the problem of the Vedanta. And Swami Sarvapriyananda says that in the commentary. It's very difficult for Vedantins to explain this. So how will you meditate on that? Because it's not an object. Uh, so he explains like this. So Yunjan means grammatically Jiva. See, you can say Yunjan. Very nice. It sounds very nice. The human joins to the divine. This is what Yunjan means. Mm, but join Swati to what? Join Swati to divine. You mean to say that I am right now not joined to divine? Remember, I'm speaking from Advaita perspective. Advaita will say, what do you mean joining of Swati to the divine? You are already joined. You already are that, isn't it? That's what they say. You already are Paramatma, isn't it? So what is this joining? Swati joining to which Swati? That that Paramatma already exists inside Swati. So this is the first problem there. Join what to what? It is ridiculous. It becomes ridiculous when you talk like that, okay? It doesn't make sense. And it becomes Even more ridiculous, because when you say Yujatma yoga, you are saying possibility for separation exists. Advaita Vedanta will not buy that. Advaita structure will not buy that. It is not possible for you to separate because you are that. They're always saying, thou art that. So, how do you explain Yunjan evam sadatmanam? So, yoga with the Atma. Are you already are that. So, what is the yoga with the Atma? It makes no sense. Does that make sense? Yoga with Atma is meaningless from an Advaita perspective because you already are that. You are not separate from the Atma. So what joining are you talking about? Okay, so that's the first problem. Yuj Samadho. Then he says the second meaning of yoga, Yunjan, could also be uh, 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 meditate on Atmanam on samadhis. Yuj Samadho. Wait. You just join samadhi, meditate on Atmanam. Okay, yeah. So one is the joining, and the second he's saying is meditate on Atma, which I explained. Meditation on Atma is not possible because it's not an object. It is awareness itself. It is that which lends light to the object world. Does that? Atma itself is the subject. It is pure consciousness. It is awareness itself. Okay. So Yunjan Jivatma with Paramatma, joining human with divine. He says, sounds very nice. Yuj Samadho, Yuj is to join. Samadhi is meditation. So meditate on Atmanam. I discussed those ideas. Uh, join what to implies possibility of some yoga and viyoga, possible in self. So I discussed this. Are you separate from the self? No, Swati is not separate from the self. You are that. By Advaita perspective, I am Atma already. So there is nothing left to join. So the explanation that Advaita perspective gives on this is that that means if you have to join, it means you are separated. How can you be separated? So this is how a logical mind thinks. No, first they will say, no, there is no separation. You are Paramatma. But now Krishna has said, Yunjan, it means you have to join. It means that you are separated. So how am I separated? They will find an explanation. Logic is very easy. Uh, um, what is that thing? Yeah. Um, okay. So logic is like that. So logic will now say, so how are you separated? You are separated because you're covered by ignorance. That is why you're separated. You remove the ignorance, will realize you're already joined. This is how they will explain, but this is difficult for them to explain. From a yoga perspective, it's easier to understand. Okay. Samadhi itself means you are joined. It means integration. See, Yoga Sutra uses the worst chapter is called Samadhi Pada. Samadhi Pada, Samadhi means integration. What does integration means? Join. Join what? Join all parts of myself together in one harmony. So you become a yes to life. If you remember that slide where we used Vitark, which is like the geometry becomes perfect. If the geometry or that triangle of Rajas, Tamas, Sattva becomes perfect, you go through the mind. Mind goes away, isn't it? So you are joining. In Yoga Sutra, you are. It is an integration. So right now you have 100 voices in your head. Yama says become one voice, correct? So there is a V yoga, and the idea of V yoga and Sam yoga exists in Yoga Sutra, correct? So we are right now in Sam yoga with the kleshas. So you have to go through a V yoga of the kleshas. So um, all right. So I'm just explaining this from Advaita perspective, as Swami Sarvapriyananda shared. Okay, this is one. Then the impossibility of this in Advaita, the question, huge. That means when you are saying that there has to be joining, it means you are also saying there are two, isn't it? In Yoga Sutra, we always say there are two. See, Sadhguru, if you remember in Isha Kriya, he says there are two which are acting as one. It's a deception. It's on. The mind and the body are different from you. But these two are in so much some yoga that they appear as one. And he says the deception is on. Advaita Vedanta is saying that there are never two. But see, all this is just word-based. Ultimate experience is same. Advaita is the ultimate experience, but I'm just for the fun of it, okay? I'm going through it. Just going through the words of it. But really, in experience, this is not necessary. All this bal ki khal nikalna. Um, so in Advaita perspective, they are always saying there is one. So when you are saying you have to join, you have to say there are two, which is not possible, which is, hurts their logic. Uh, there is one, there is Aham Brahmasmi, so join what to what. Yuj Samadho, how to meditate on Atma. I discussed that. Atma is not an object to be meditated on. Atma cannot be grasped by senses, by thoughts. You cannot grasp Atma like that. In fact, it's only when all the vrittis dissolve you will know that you are Atma. So how can you meditate? It is not possible. So Atma is what illumines. So self is to be seen. Swami Sarvapriyananda says how the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that self is to be seen. You study, think, and meditate on it. So that is the path they follow of Upanishads, going through contemplation, and then it will reveal itself to you. This is their path. So see, this is a problem now, no? So for the Advaita Vedantin, because they are so vritti intensive, it is thought based. When we speak of dhyan, first thing Maharishi Patanjali says is scrap your thought. It's useless. Don't pay attention to your thought. What do you pay attention to? You pay attention to body and to breath. I am not this body. I'm not even this mind. In Isha, when once in one of the satsangs with Sadhguru, somebody asked Sadhguru, why do you use negative terminology like this? I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. Why not say I'm the spirit and the soul? He said, do you have any experience of it? You have no experience of it, so don't talk about it. Start from where you are. You know that there is a body, there's a mind. You just start in knowing, just pushing this little bit away. Just push this a little bit away by saying, I'm not this body, I'm not even this mind. Now, um, uh, so so in Yoga Sutra, we do away with vritti. Thoughts are not at all important. Thoughts is what created all the complication and kleshas in the first place. So dump them out. They will not help you. And you get down to what you are not, this deception, this thing which is creating deception. Start looking at it so that you can move it a little bit away and you will realize that you are pure consciousness, right? You are Purusha itself. You are not Prakriti. This body is Prakriti. So uh, Swami Sarvapriyananda says this is difficult to explain with the Advaita structure. And he says one of the Swamis explained it like this, that you have the sword, okay? The sword of the intellect. And they will use, this is like that example that Osho gives, one thorn to take out the other thorn. So he says, you use this sword of the intellect to strike the vritti. The vritti also breaks, the sword also breaks, and Brahman is revealed to you. This is how they explain that you use thoughts, and there comes a point in your thinking and contemplation where the thought or the vritti which is being channelized on a particular thought or the object of contemplation and that object of contemplation both will collide and break, and then that which is Brahman is revealed to you. This just reminds me of Ramakrishna's own meditation. Correct me and feel free to share your thoughts. Ramakrishna used to meditate on the Devi, and then he said that I see the Devi, but how do I realize that Nirgun, that Nirgun Brahman? I cannot. For me, I see the Saguna Brahman in the Devi. So it was, I think his guru is Totapuri. So Totapuri says, who created that Saguna, that Devi inside your head? He said, I created. He said, if you created, can't you cut it out? So he says, how should I cut? He said, just like you created the Devi, you create a sword in your mind and you just strike it off. The Devi will also cut off. With your own thought, you created the Devi. Now with your own thought, you create a sword. This is how two thoughts collide with each other and they break apart. And that which is Nirguna, that which is Brahman is revealed to you. This is how they are trying to explain this whole idea, which they find difficult to explain, which is very straightforward in Yoga Sutra. So when Ramakrishna started meditating, he came out of the meditation and then Totapuri asked him, so did you strike the Devi and were you able to come? He says, I cannot bring myself to strike and I forget, I go into a trance when the Devi is there. So he said, next time when I see you, hitting that state of trance, I'm going to take a glass piece and make a hit on your Agnya. And when you feel that, because he says he loses consciousness, he says, when you feel that, you take a sword and you remember to strike. So Ramakrishna agrees, and this is what happens. This has been mentioned in one of the commentaries in by Swami Sarvapriyananda. So when Totapuri sees him going into a certain state of trance, he takes a glass piece and he creates a gash, on his forehead, and he remembers and he strikes, and that's how he comes into his realization of Nirguna Brahman, like Brahman. That otherwise he was in this Saguna state. So, this is how Advaita Vedanta explains how to go beyond thought through thought. They work with thought, they work with contemplation, but a time comes when both collide, both break. It's like you will get fed up with it. Osho bolte हैं, सोच सोच के थक जाओगे. You'll get so fed up with it, you'll throw thoughts away. You will just simply discard it, and it will happen. It will automatically fall apart. Um, all right. So, all right. Now we will stop here. Next is 16th verse. We'll take it next time. If you have any thoughts or ideas or comments, we're good. Makes sense. Fun. Fun. Gita is fun. Like it is sometimes the insights are so nice. I'm like blown. I'm blown when I listen to Osho. Very, very insightful. It's like, things in your mind, cobwebs start clearing. All right. So if there's nothing more, then we will take the closing mantra and close here. पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु Namaste. Thank you very much, everyone. Good night.